Have you ever felt it? That quiet exhaustion? The kind that has nothing to do with sleep? It's the exhaustion of performance, of holding a mask in place so perfectly that you've almost forgotten it's there. But your soul remembers, and it is tired. What if I told you that the deepest freedom you will ever experience is not found in becoming someone better, but in finally allowing yourself to be who you already are? The great psychologist Carl Jung taught a profound and unsettling truth. He said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But he also knew that for many of us, our most authentic self, the vibrant, messy, imperfect core of our being, has been exiled. It has been pushed into the shadow, not because it is bad, but because we learned long ago that it was unsafe to be seen. In our time together today, we will embark on a sacred journey of reclamation. First, we will unmask the hidden cost of conformity and understand why we fear showing our true selves. Then we will explore how the courageous act of integrating your shadow is the secret key to unlocking profound authenticity. And most importantly, I will guide you on the practical, gentle steps to begin stepping out of the shadows and into your own light. This is not about changing. It is about remembering. Remembering the person you were before the world told you who to be. To begin this work, let us make a quiet declaration, a promise to our inner self. Write in the comments below, "I choose to be seen."
The mask you wear, it was not forged in arrogance. It was woven from love. A desperate childhood love for connection, for safety, for belonging. We arrive in this world as a whole, vibrant, chaotic symphony of impulses. We are curious, we are angry, we are joyful, we are demanding. And then we learn. We learn that certain notes in our symphony make the audience uncomfortable. Our anger is labeled difficult. Our sensitivity is called too much. Our quiet need for solitude is seen as unfriendly. Our wild creativity is deemed impractical. So piece by piece, we begin to silence the instruments. We learn to hide the parts of us that were not met with applause. This is not a conscious decision. It is a brilliant, subconscious act of survival. The psyche creates what Carl Jung called the persona, a social mask, a carefully curated version of ourselves designed for public approval. It is the good employee, the patient mother, the reliable friend. The persona is not inherently bad. It is a necessary tool for navigating a complex social world. The tragedy occurs when we forget that we are wearing it, when the mask fuses to our skin, when we start to believe that this edited, filtered, acceptable version of us is all that we are. And the cost of this performance is immense. It is a slow leak of psychic energy, a quiet hollowing out of the soul. It is the ache of being deeply loved for someone you are not. Let's meet Sarah. She is 42, a beloved high school literature teacher. Her students adore her for her endless patience. Her colleagues admire her for always volunteering to help. Her family relies on her as the calm, stable center. On the surface, Sarah's life is a picture of success and contribution. But there is a secret life. A life lived behind closed doors after the performance of the day is over. It is the life of lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling a profound and nameless emptiness. It is the life of snapping at her husband over something as small as a misplaced set of keys. It is the life of feeling a surge of bitter resentment when she sees a friend quit her job to pursue a risky, creative passion. Sarah doesn't understand this disconnect. She thinks, I have a good life. I should be grateful. But her soul knows the truth. The persona of the perfect teacher has been starving the authentic Sarah. The patient, smiling mask has pushed her own needs, her own frustrations, her own creative longings into the shadow. Her exhaustion isn't from teaching. It's the constant draining effort of suppression. Her sudden anger isn't about the keys. It's the caged part of her, rattling the bars, screaming for a moment of authentic expression. Her resentment toward her friend is the ghost of her own unlived life. The artist she abandoned in college because it wasn't a sensible career path. That part of her didn't die. It was just exiled to the shadow, and it now speaks to her in the painful language of envy. This is the hidden cost of wearing the mask. It creates a profound internal split. We spend our days polishing the exterior, the persona, hoping for external validation. But in doing so, we neglect the vast, rich, and sometimes challenging landscape of our inner world. The authentic self, the one who holds our deepest truths, our most vulnerable feelings, and our wildest potentials, gets locked away. It becomes part of our shadow. And as Carl Jung taught, what we do not bring to consciousness appears in our life as fate. The unacknowledged anger appears as a broken relationship. The suppressed need for rest appears as chronic illness. The disowned creativity appears as a life that feels gray and meaningless. The first courageous step in this shadow work is not to tear off the mask. That would be too brutal, too terrifying. The first step is simply to acknowledge that it is there, to feel its weight, to honor its original purpose, to look in the mirror and say, not with judgment, but with a deep and aching compassion, I see you. I see how hard you have worked to keep me safe, to make me loved. This simple act of recognition is a key turning in a long rusted lock. You are not condemning the performer. You are beginning to remember the person behind the performance. And in that quiet space of remembering, a new possibility begins to dawn. The possibility that you are more than just the mask you wear. That your wholeness lies not in perfection, but in the courageous integration of all that you are, the light and the shadow.
But what is this fear, really? This deep, quiet terror of being seen? It's not just a fear of judgment. It runs deeper than that. At its core, the fear of authenticity is the fear of abandonment. Somewhere in the early archives of your emotional memory, a file was created, a moment when your true, unfiltered self was met not with curiosity, but with criticism, not with acceptance, but with withdrawal. Perhaps you shared a wild, imaginative story and were told, "Stop being so dramatic." Perhaps you expressed a deep sadness and were met with, "You're too sensitive." Perhaps you set a boundary, and in response, love was withheld. In that moment, your nervous system learned a critical lesson for survival. To be authentic is to risk being alone. To be agreeable is to be safe. So the persona you built, it is not a cage, it is a fortress, designed to protect the small, vulnerable child within from ever feeling that chilling sense of rejection again. Your fear of being yourself is not a weakness. It is a testament to your loyalty,
a fierce, misguided loyalty to a survival strategy that is no longer serving you. But here is the paradox Carl Jung's work illuminates so brilliantly. The very fortress you built to keep out pain has also become a prison that keeps out love. Not just love from others, but love for yourself. Because when you consistently hide parts of yourself, you send a powerful, subconscious message to your own soul. The message is, you are not acceptable as you are. You must be edited. You must be managed. You must be hidden. This is the true source of that quiet inner ache. It is the loneliness of the authentic self living in exile within your own heart. The journey back, the journey from shadow to shine, is the process of integrating these exiled parts. It is the sacred work of shadow integration. And it begins not with a grand gesture, but with a quiet turning inward. It begins with curiosity. Here, in this safe space, I want to offer you two powerful practical shadow work prompts. These are not questions to be answered quickly. They are doorways, invitations to a conversation with the parts of you that have been silent for too long. Find a quiet moment this week, a pen, a journal, and sit with the first prompt. Prompt number 1. Describe a part of yourself you are afraid to show the world. What is its greatest fear, and what is its hidden gift? Let's take a moment with this. Perhaps the part you hide is your anger. Its greatest fear is that if you express it, you will be seen as destructive and you will push everyone away. But what is its hidden gift? Perhaps its gift is the power to set boundaries, the energy to protect your peace, the clarity to say no when you mean no. Your anger, hidden in the shadow, is not a monster. It is a guardian, waiting to be understood. Or maybe the part you hide is your vulnerability, your deep sensitivity. Its greatest fear is that if you show it, you will be seen as weak, you will be hurt. But what is its hidden gift? Perhaps it is the capacity for profound empathy, the ability to connect with others on a soul level, the courage to love deeply and authentically. This is the alchemy of shadow work. You are not trying to fix these parts. You are learning to listen to them, to see the protective intention behind the fearful behavior. Now for the second prompt. This one goes a layer deeper. It asks you to look at your relationships. Prompt number 2. Think of a person who consistently triggers a strong negative reaction in you. What specific quality in them irritates you the most? Now, where might a version of that same quality, even a tiny one, exist in you? This is the Jungian concept of projection. Often, the things that infuriate us in others are the disowned parts of our own shadow. Let's imagine Chloe, a 35-year-old nurse. She has a colleague who she finds incredibly selfish. This colleague leaves work right on time, never takes extra shifts, and seems to prioritize her personal life without guilt. She resents her for this. But as she sits with this prompt, a difficult truth begins to surface. The selfishness she sees in her colleague is the very freedom she denies herself. Chloe is the one who always stays late, who always says yes to the extra shift. Her resentment is not truly about her colleague. It is the cry of her own exhausted, neglected self. The part of her shadow that is desperate for rest, for boundaries, for a life outside of service. Her colleague is simply a mirror, reflecting back to her the very quality she needs to integrate. This work is not comfortable. It requires a radical honesty. It requires you to look at the parts of yourself and the world you would rather avoid. But it is the only path to true authenticity. Because authenticity is not about being liked. It is about being whole. It is the quiet, unshakable power that comes from no longer being at war with yourself. When you begin to listen to these hidden parts, to understand their fears and unearth their gifts, the mask begins to loosen, not because you force it off, because you no longer need it. You are learning that your anger can be a boundary, your vulnerability can be a bridge, and your so-called selfishness might just be the sacred act of honoring your own soul.
So how do we begin to live this truth? How do we translate this profound inner work into our outer world? Authenticity is not a destination you arrive at. It is a practice, a muscle you strengthen through small, consistent, courageous acts. It is the practice of closing the gap between who you are on the inside and who you show to the world. Here, I want to offer you a gentle yet powerful daily practice. Think of it as a form of sacred rebellion, a quiet revolution against the tyranny of expectation. I call it the act of authentic alignment. Each morning, before the world has a chance to tell you who you should be, you will ask yourself one simple question. What is one small thing I can do today that feels truly aligned with the person I am, not the person I am supposed to be? The key here is the word small. This is not about quitting your job or making a dramatic life change. The shadow is easily frightened by grand gestures. We are building trust with the exiled parts of ourselves, and trust is built in small, safe increments. Let's go back to Sarah, our exhausted teacher. One morning, she asks herself this question. The good teacher persona immediately offers answers. I can prepare an extra lesson plan. I can volunteer for that committee. But she gently pushes those aside. She is listening for a different voice today, a quieter voice, the voice of her authentic self, her shadow. And it whispers something surprising. Wear the silver earrings, the ones you love but think are too flashy for a teacher. It is a tiny act, seemingly insignificant. But as Sarah puts on the earrings, something shifts. She feels a small spark of defiant joy. All day, every time she catches her reflection, she is reminded not of the role she is playing, but of the woman she truly is, a woman who loves art, a woman who loves beauty. This small act of alignment is a message to her soul. It says, I see you. Your desires matter. You are allowed to shine. Let's think about Chloe, the nurse who resents her selfish colleague. She asks herself the question. The answer that comes from her authentic self is not dramatic. It is simple. Today, I will take my full lunch break. I will not eat at my desk while charting. I will go outside and sit in the sun for 15 minutes. When the time comes, the guilt is immense. The inner voice screams about all the work she should be doing. But she remembers our work here. She acknowledges the voice. Thank you for trying to keep me productive, but for 15 minutes we are safe to rest. And as she sits in the sun, she is not just resting her body. She is reclaiming a piece of her own life. She is integrating the part of her shadow that has been crying out for boundaries and self-care. She is proving to herself, through lived experience, that she is worthy of a pause. This practice is powerful because it is personal. For you, an act of authentic alignment might be speaking your honest opinion in a meeting, even if your voice shakes. Saying no to a social invitation you feel obligated to accept. Spending 10 minutes reading a book you love instead of scrolling through news you don't care about. Listening to a type of music that your persona deems immature. Admitting to a friend, actually, I'm not okay today. Do you see the pattern? These are not acts of selfishness. They are acts of soul retrieval. Each time you choose a small act of alignment, you are casting a vote for your authentic self. You are slowly, gently rewriting the old survival equation. You are teaching your nervous system a new truth. The new truth is, to be authentic is not to be abandoned. It is to finally come home. As you practice this, something miraculous begins to happen. The world around you starts to reorganize. Some people may feel uncomfortable with the new, more authentic you, the you that has boundaries, the you that has needs. And that is okay. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. You are learning that you can survive their disapproval. And in the space that opens up, new people arrive. People who are drawn not to your mask, but to your light. They love you for your honesty, not your agreeableness. They are inspired by your courage, not your compliance. This is the great liberating secret Carl Jung knew. Authenticity is not a self-centered pursuit. It is a gift to the world. When you show up as your whole self, you give everyone around you permission to do the same. You become a beacon of what is possible, a testament to the profound truth that the journey from shadow to shine is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming real. And your real, imperfect, authentic self is exactly what the world needs.
Today, we have walked a sacred path together, a path that leads from the exhaustion of performance to the quiet power of presence. We began by acknowledging the weight of the mask, the persona, that we wear not out of deceit, but out of a deep, protective instinct to belong. We saw how this mask, while once a survival tool, slowly became a prison, exiling our most authentic self to the shadow. We then journeyed deeper, unmasking the fear of abandonment that sits at the core of our resistance to being seen. Through the lens of Carl Jung's shadow work, we learned that the path back to ourselves is not through fighting our fears, but through listening to them and unearthing the hidden gifts within our anger, our sensitivity, and even our projections. And most importantly, we were given a key, a simple daily practice, the act of authentic alignment, to begin closing the gap between the person we pretend to be and the magnificent, whole person we truly are. The journey from shadow to shine is the ultimate act of self-love. It is the process of looking at all the pieces of yourself that you were taught to hide and welcoming them home. It is messy. It is not linear. There will be days you wear the mask again, and that is okay. This is not about perfection. It is about compassion. A deep, abiding compassion for the part of you that is learning, for the first time in a long time, how to breathe without apology. As you begin to live more authentically, a new question will naturally arise. You've started to integrate the parts of you that you once deemed unacceptable. You've acknowledged your anger, your vulnerability, your needs. But what about the parts of you that you have always believed were simply weaknesses? The parts you see not just as unacceptable, but as genuine flaws. Your impatience, your stubbornness, your quiet sensitivity in a loud world. What if I told you that these perceived weaknesses are not liabilities? What if they are actually your greatest strengths in disguise? What if your shadow holds not just your exiled parts, but also your unclaimed power? That is the profound territory we will explore together in our next journey as we uncover the shadow's gift, unlocking your hidden strengths. For now, your invitation is to take the first small revolutionary step, to commit to one act of authentic alignment. To make this sacred intention real, to anchor it in this community of fellow travelers, I invite you to share in the comments below. What is the one small, authentic act you will choose for yourself this week? Will you wear the earrings? Will you take the full lunch break? Will you speak your quiet truth? Your story is a permission slip for someone else. Your courage is contagious. Thank you for the profound act of showing up for yourself. Your light is needed.